So in this segment, we're going to be talking about this absolute disaster class in journalism from Lewis Goodall, a guy who I had a lot of respect for, and he's killed it. He's killed it in one video. And, the fact is, like, journalists, I get they have to be antagonistic, but framing is very important, and the way he frames this is moronic. I've got another video I'm going to be working on where this person here, Sanjita Moska, I'm not sure how to pronounce her name, I'll be honest, the framing of her interview is really bad, so I want to cover that one separately. But this is genuinely really idiotic stuff from Goodall. I don't know what the hell he was thinking, asking such dumb questions and making such stupid statements. So let's go through this.
This is talking about, of course, at the moment, and something that is our relationship with the European Union. Would you accept that our current relationship with the European Union, would you accept that Brexit is one of the reasons why we've got extremely sluggish growth at the moment, or no growth at all?
So that's a good opener. That's a good opener. Open-ended question. Do you think Brexit's had an impact in our slow growth? Fine.
Well, I think one of the problems we have is that actually the way the Conservatives have approached Brexit is stopping it from having any chance of being a success. For example, they're not doing what lots of businesses say to me British businesses need. They need a veterinary agreement. What would that do? That would mean we could cut out a lot of those checks on food and this kind of thing that are really clogging up our ports, creating big issues.
What about the single market? And one easy way of doing it is to say, look, if a Labour government is just going to go for growth, you and I both know that one of the things that could drive growth, one of the big components that you could do overnight,
Here we go, you guys ready for this, right? Because what Annalise Dodd said, she was right about, and I know people get annoyed about interruptions, but this is how you kind of avoid copyrights to an extent, right? What Annalise Dodd said about a veterinary agreement is right, that it would help declog the ports. There'll still be customs checks and all that kind of stuff, customs fees, etc. But it would help genuinely reduce a lot of the checks within the Irish Sea and also at the UK-French border.
Talks about how hard it is to drive growth, how long-term it is. Something you could do more or less overnight, you'd have to negotiate it, but pretty quickly, is accession to the single market.
Oh, bro, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this to us? What is this? Do it overnight or very quickly, accession to the single market. Bro, are you stupid? Like, bro, oh my God. I watched this and I was like, not you. There's a clip in Simpsons where it says, not Lenny. And it's just like, not Lewis. It's like, not you. It's like, you can't just gain accession to the single market. It doesn't work like that. I don't get where these people are coming from. And if you read some of the tweets underneath it, it's just full of people saying Labour aren't good enough. And I think there's someone else. I don't know if I'll mention his name, but some of you will know who I'm talking about here. He pushes the same nonsense that the UK can just rejoin the single market. It's easy, And what it does is it makes Labour look stupid. I'll tell you why it makes Labour look stupid, because they'll say we can get a veterinary agreement, and then what these rejoiners will say is, well, why don't we just rejoin the single market? It's way better than that, man. You guys are offering half measures just because you want to appease the red wall, and I'm not going to vote for you because of that. Just the stupidity on display, people. He's a British journalist on LBC, a very big radio station, pushing absolute nonsense. Do you ever wonder why some people in the UK, even rejoiners, right, or remainers, whatever you want to call themselves, are so ignorant of things in the EU? Because they push nonsense like this. This is the level of journalism we have in this country. It's ridiculous. You can't, like, bro, I've done the research. There's a long video on my channel, Lewis, mate. Should I tweet it to him? Honestly, comment below if you want me to tweet him the video. You don't just rejoin the single market, pal. Honestly.
Politics isn't important, and the economics, and we need growth. Why isn't Labour talking about rejoining the single market?
Well, no,
because for them, it would be politically toxic to say that, and also it's not within reality. Why don't I just get the Infinity Stones and start causing absolute chaos? Because it's not real. Why don't I try and get bit by a radioactive spider and become Spider-Man? Because it's not real. Come on, bro.
I don't agree with that. I think actually there are measures that we could... Well, because there are measures we could take right now that other countries...
I wish Labour would say, because you can't just rejoin the single market. That's why. I don't get why she didn't just say that.
...that aren't part of the single market, that aren't part of the EU...
You don't agree...
...managed to achieve. So if I can just finish, for example, with a veterinary agreement, as I said, there's lots of countries outside the EU, outside the single market, that have got those kinds of agreements.
It's the fact that both of these people have no idea what they're talking about. She could just say, because you can't just rejoin the single market. I would have said to Lewis Goodall, can you explain the process of rejoining the single market? What would you have to do to get that sort of agreement? Because the EU have said a Swiss model doesn't work. Even the Swiss model itself, it's very flawed. It just causes endless problems because stuff gets put to referenda. Sometimes the Swiss people reject it, and because the single market exists on four pillars, you take out one, that's all of them gone, and it just causes endless problems. The EU have said consistently the Swiss model is not one they're going to replicate for anyone else. It is very clear they were talking to us. And even though you've got people within the British government saying Britain mulls a Swiss-style agreement with Brussels, it's not going to happen, guys. Please stop. If you're in the comments, if you're going to comment, oh, we could just rejoin the single market, why are you hating on Britain? Like, I'm not hating on Britain, you're hating on reality at that point.
They mean that goods can move much more freely. Sure. That kind of practical stuff is what our government should be focused on when it comes to our relationship with the EU.
As you and
they haven't been, and we could change that very, very quickly.
Sure thing. As you and I both know, a veterinary agreement covering a pretty small percentage of the economy, i.e. agriculture, wouldn't shift the dial very much in terms of growth. Take something like manufacturing. It takes something like manufacturing. Huge proportion of the economy, services, huge proportion of the economy, all suffering at the moment as a result.
We're not gonna. Why would they give us an agreement on services? Why would they do that? How many countries have agreements on services? Not many. They're not covered in FTAs. Services are completely a whole different thing. Very rarely are they covered in trade deals. Not really. It's I get the argument Lewis Goodall was making here, but the idea is a straw man. Effectively, it's why don't you just rejoin the single market? It'd solve all these problems. You can't do it, pal. That's why. Yes, if we could mythically rejoin the single market, right? Or if we could join EFTA, that would probably be a better example. Then yes, it would help resolve a lot of the issues with manufacturing, with even with financial services. But the thing is, that's not on the table, pal. That's the problem. It'd be like if I said, yeah, Shakira's single, but I can't date her because I'm not in her league. That's what it is.
Of lack of single market access, you and I both know that is a huge drag on the economy. So if the Labour Party just cares about growth, why not revisit that question? It's about politics.
It's revisit that question because it's not in reality. That's why.
Your internal politics, isn't it?
I get what he's trying to do. It's a gotcha question. Is, well, if you care about growth, why don't you say we'll rejoin the single market and that's going to help out growth loads? It's like, because it's not on the table, buddy. For Labour, it's not politically, but also in reality, that option doesn't exist.
No, it's not. It's about what we can deliver for our
just say what I said.
Country and do so speedily in order to secure our growth for the future. And actually, I wouldn't downplay that kind of an agreement at all. I mean, it amounts for about 80% of the checks currently taking place on UK goods. So it is pretty significant, the fact that we don't seem to have a government that can actually secure that kind of a deal, nor does it seem to be able to secure a deal on data either. Again, something lots of other countries have with the EU, something that would clear up many of the problems that businesses have when they raise this with me. But, that's just one of the reasons why we've got these issues in our country. It really has been that lack of a proper plan. The fact that our Conservative government is still doing things now that are actually holding back our economic growth. Why have we got Rishi Sunak, for example, still banning on...
I mean, what she says, the answers she gives here are pretty decent. I don't know how much of the checks are based around agri-foods, but it makes sense. Agri-foods do face the most aggressive checks because they can cause the most damage to a country in terms of illness and things like that. Let's not forget that word, the big problems we've had recently. But what she says here makes a decent amount of sense. But Lewis Goodall is just coming at it from a really bad perspective of living outside of reality. Why can't I snap my fingers and, magic happens? Or why can't I create teleporting portals? Or why can't I shoot spider webs from my hands? It's just not going to happen, pal. I can go through a myriad of superhero examples if you want me to.
Sorry, I think you can't have it both. You can't have it both ways. You can't criticise the Conservative Party for not wanting to do things that hold back growth or that could create growth because of politics, and the Labour Party does exactly the same. Because if you were to take your own logic through to its extreme, which is that what we've got to do is do things that generate growth, there isn't an economist, a sensible mainstream economist in Britain, as you and I both know, who wouldn't say.
It's kind of annoying they cut off their own clip there. I guess they don't post super long clips. But my problem is that what he's saying is coming out from a stupid angle. I guess if he was going to say it from a theoretical point of view, that surely if membership of the single market existed and it was on the table, maybe we should rejoin. It's very clear why Labour don't want to kind of entertain these arguments, because freedom of movement would be on the table, and the Labour's focus is very much on the Red Wall, and they haven't done the groundwork in order to show why freedom of movement is great. The UK has a massive labour shortage, and also the fact that it would help deal with the queues at airports in other countries. You know, if I was a Labour MP, I would be talking about that. I'd be talking about if you want to go abroad for a bit, which a lot of people do nowadays. You know, be it, you know, middle class people or working class people, do try and go you know, on holiday once a year. If you want to be stuck in the airport for 3 hours, then sure, you know, stay, you know, keep freedom of movement gone. But if you want to get through an airport quickly, I'd say, look, freedom of movement, good option. If you want to work abroad for a while, freedom of movement, good option. If you want to study abroad, freedom of movement. You know, lots of good things come from freedom of movement. The Erasmus program, another thing which has been taken away from a lot of people. There are lots of positive arguments for freedom of movement which Labour don't want to do the groundwork for because they don't want to offend anyone. But the problem is, if you don't put out any decent, strong policies, you will struggle typically in elections. The only problem is the Tories are happy to shoot themselves in the head repeatedly in order to push their stupid agenda. But you know, if our Annalise starts, I would say like single market. You know, that's something we would have to come back to another time. If I was going to make this, I would argue that we can get a veterinary agreement really quickly, and that's going to help businesses straight away. Whilst trying to negotiate access to the single market could take years. For example, that's the argument she should have used there, I think. But there were many defences that she could have used. But the simple fact is that I know people on YouTube push it, but all I want to ask them is, what example can you follow of a country just joining the single market? Because we know that Norway has access via their membership of EFTA, because the EU created an agreement with EFTA, creating the European Economic Area. Switzerland is a special example because, you know, they wanted to join the single market, but then, you know, I think through various referenda and other issues they pulled out, and because they want to stay neutral, etc. There's a really long history there. They decide their treaties based on referenda constantly, and that causes lots of issues. I think there are around 70 bilateral agreements with Switzerland, and even then, you know, does the UK want to be a rule taker at that point? That's another conversation. But the simple fact is, to make it sound like we can just rejoin the single market overnight is ridiculous, and I'm getting tired of people saying it. I'm really getting tired of it. I'm very close to naming names at this point, because I'm getting very sick of it, especially when they don't cite any evidence. Their only argument is that, well, you see, the UK is a bigger economy than EFTA, so I don't see why we can't get an agreement given the economy size. And, you know, to argue the EU is just just works on finances and money, just doesn't make sense. Yes, I'm not a hippie. You know, obviously money's important, but if the EU were so fussed about trade, they would have free trade agreements with America, who they do more trade with than the UK, with China, who they do more trade with than the UK. They wouldn't have sanctioned Russia so aggressively, given the damage it's done to the Eurozone. You know, some things are more important than money. I'm talking about ideals, in the words of Jetstream Sam. But anyways, this video has rambled on for a long time. How long have I been talking for? Like 13 minutes. So I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Stop pushing. If you're one of these people pushing these arguments, stop it. Stop it. Get some help. And I'll catch you in the next one.